Texas Senate Republicans are pushing a bill that would require schools to prominently display the 10 Commandments in every single classroom starting next year. Senate Bill 1515 passed out of the Senate. The House will take it up for consideration. This is the latest attempt from Texas Republicans to inject religion into the public schools. In the last session, the Senate passed a bill that became law requiring schools to display "Donated in God We Trust" signs. The rise in religion in public life is the subject of an in-depth article in the Texas Tribune. The story talks about the eroding of the separation of church and state and how Christian conservatives and their donors are impacting public decision makers in Texas. Joining us in studio is the author of that article, Robert Downen. He is with the Texas Tribune's democracy reporter. Robert, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, why this push for Judeo-Christian iconography and teachings by some of these Texas lawmakers?
So, there are many reasons, but one of the things that frequently came up in legislative hearings so far has been this idea that, America has strayed from, universal moral truths that are contained in the 10 Commandments and in religion more broadly, and that by returning to those really Judeo-Christian virtues, that is a solution to, the many American ills we have, from school shootings to crime to LGBTQ acceptance to all of these kind of more culture war issues that have, always been hot button issues for the GOP more broadly.
Talking about Christian nationalism, what is that, and is that something that is growing in the Texas GOP?
Sure. Christian nationalism, to make it very simple, is the idea that the United States was a God-ordained nation, and that our founding was God-ordained, and therefore our laws, our institutions, and our education system as well should favor and prioritize Christian virtues. And this is an idea that's always kind of been under the surface of, Texas and United States politics, but we've seen in the last 5 years, particularly in the wake of Trump, a really mainstreaming of a lot of these pillars of this belief. You have Marjorie Taylor Greene espousing those beliefs. Trump ran on a promise to give Christians power, and in the Texas, legislature this year, we're seeing a lot more people talk about the, church-state separation as a myth and as a false doctrine, and all of these kind of things that are undergird this broader idea of Christian nationalism.
In your reporting, are you getting anybody pushing back on this?
We've had a few people that have said, kind of argued the point that a lot of these legislators and groups are making, that, because church-state, or, church and state separation isn't explicitly said in the Constitution, that it's not a real doctrine. But if you look at, there's a whole field, body of work from scholars and historians showing why that's not the case. So,
you also wrote about the Supreme Court changing the legal landscape when it comes to prayer and funding. Talk about that.
Yeah, so there have been a series of really important Supreme Court decisions over the last few years, including 2 related to school finance that have kind of been, the impetus for challenges to what are called Blaine amendments, which are these prohibitions in state constitutions that kind of limit or, direct state support of religious organizations, including schools. And then another more as consequential was last year's Kennedy decision, in which the Supreme Court's conservative supermajority ruled in favor of a Washington State football coach who wanted to pray at the football field. So,
I asked you about pushback, but are non-Christians voicing any concerns with you about these Texas conservatives and this religious push?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I should say it's not just limited to non-Christians. Christians have pushed back too, but one of the common refrains we've heard is that, in a quickly diversifying and secularizing the society, it's at best discriminatory to elevate one faith over another. And what one of the people I quoted in my article was saying, it's really depressing to feel as if our their lawmakers don't fully understand or acknowledge how much they contribute to the state.
Well, you can read the entire article for yourself online at texastribune.org. Robert Downen, Texas Tribune democracy reporter, thanks for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.